Always do. We are recording. Okay, we're back. Yantif, hope everybody had a great Yantif. Everybody's well. You survived it. Yeah. Yantif really it beats you up. And I just realized the Yantif stays the same, but we don't get any younger. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. I can't. Yeah.
Great insight.
Right? Isn't that amazing? My big kids would say, like, oh, father discovers inflation, like, yes, my kids don't miss an opportunity to make fun of me because I guess that's what you do when you're a kid. So now we're gonna have now we get to some really, really exciting stuff. When I was younger, remember they used to have these like TV miniseries on like ABC. They would have like a 3, 4 night miniseries. I remember one on Samson and Delilah. Didn't know the story quite back then. Oh yeah. The first big one was Roots, of course. I remember them doing one on the Holocaust.
Shoah. It was Shoah.
What was it called? Remember that followed the Weiss family?
Yep.
That I remember, which scared the heck out of me like forever. And also they made us I think it was a 2-part series. They did something on nuclear war called The Day After. And it was an assignment in school that we had to watch it. That's when we were really scared of nuclear war and stuff. Now we're just scared of regular war. And so I remember the Samson and Delilah, and I just remember some scenes of the guy like the long hair and he's blind, he's pushing the columns, and this girl and Delilah, like, hey there, Delilah, can you? Okay. So anyway, anytime you hear the word Delilah or Delilah, um, and we have a big part of our group is Delilah, as we know. I mean, you ask her how she got her name. She's gonna watch this. I was like, yeah, this is your story, but we're gonna learn this story, and we know the first part of it we know well because it's the Haftorah for Parshas Naso, and we'll see quickly why that's the case. So I want to go through chapter 13, and then what I want you to do is let's just read through it. Let's translate it and make either a physical or mental note of anything that seems sort of familiar, unusual, questionable, scratching headish, because there's a lot here for the biblical content, especially in the text. It is rich with things to think about, which is really, really, really important. We like these kind of stuff. I mean, we really do. So I'm excited to get into this. Okay, so the chapter starts actually at the end of the last chapter, which Tanakh does that sometimes just to play with you. So before the story starts, it's Vayosif. So we had just saw the last things with Yiftach, and then we saw Ivtzon and Abdon, etc. Now we have Vayosifu b'nei Yisrael asos hara b'nei Hashem vaytineim Hashem b'yad plishtim arba'im shana. That's important because we're going back to that pattern which we've been discussing the entire book of Shoftim, in which, okay, they're in trouble, they get saved. Well, they're in trouble, they ask for help, they get saved, they get bailed out, everything's good, and then they get in trouble again because everything is fine. We do very, very poorly when things are fine. That's why I'm very worried now. Like, I mean, I can't wait to sort of feel the pulse in the air in Israel right now. We're not out of the woods yet, but I feel like people are like for the first time they can breathe. Like the Cholim Shom. You could just sort of like a tremendous weight has been lifted off. Now that's just only going to be replaced with another one, sort of inevitably. And all the unity and all of the great actions and camaraderie, that's going to fall apart in 2 seconds when the politics start playing again and people start fighting again. And who knows what they're going to fight about this time. I mean, we remember what it was like leading up to October 6th. And then we saw a whole sort of paradigm shift. And then that started up again because that became political. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens now. So that's where we are. So they follow this pattern, this on again, off again of, I always say that's the bad joke, or the 3 guys that are sharing a bed. And nobody can get comfortable. They get cranky. So they vote. They said, you know what? One guy has to sleep on the floor. Fine, he sleeps on the floor. Half hour later, the guy's like, it's much roomier here. You want to come back? So that's the same idea. Is that everything is fine until it's not, but then when it's fine, that's when we get into trouble. So we're in chapter 13, Eileen. Hashem then gives them biyad plishtim. Okay, so now all of a sudden we're introduced to the plishtim. The plishtim, who are the plishtim? Are the Philistines. So this is phenomenal. Rabbi Hatton, in his book, he gives a whole um, preview of who the Philistines were, if you're interested in that sort of history, because and he does address the, I don't know if it's a mistake or it's a coincidence or not. Like, Palestinians are not Philistines. The Philistines, they came from the coast and then they conquered the coastal area where the Philistines had five coastal cities: Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Gat, and
Gaza.
Gaza. So maybe there's like, he has this very like kind of tongue-in-cheeky note here, which is I want to share with you. Um, and they were very militant and they were dominant and they caused a lot of problems. Now we know already about them from the time of Abraham. Avraham makes, and it's coming up now. These are these parashas now. Avraham makes a pact with Avimelech, Melech Plishtim, in Gerar, and we have all of these incidents of, they're fighting over wells and fighting over this and fighting over that. So there's like always fighting over there. Um, so he just writes, parenthetically, it should be emphasized that the name Palestine was imposed on the province of Judea by the Roman Emperor Hadrian after he had cruelly suppressed the Bar Kokhba revolt in the second century of the Common Era, more than 1,000 years after the events of our book, meaning of Shoftim. Hadrian's renaming was a conscious evocation of the ancient animosity, although by that time the Philistines had long ceased to exist. The Romans, fed up with Jewish resistance and ongoing opposition to their harsh and rapacious rule, decided to commemorate their bloody victory over the Jews by derisively renaming these lands Syria Palestina, so that Israel's ancient connection to the place might be expunged from memory in favor of their implacable foe who had harshly oppressed them some 13 centuries earlier. Therefore, it is one of history's greatest ironies that the present-day conflict between Israel and its mortal enemies who dwell in Gaza and call themselves Palestinians echoes, at least in name, this early and decisive clash. So there is an association, but not an exact thing. It's a little scary. You wanna give an extra shtuch. So they want to, and by the way, that's also something that's not new, but people are trying to rewrite history and say you were never here or erase your connection to historical land. They have on and on, and that's happening all over. If you look at the UN historical sites, what's it called, UNESCO? UNESCO is always trying, like, oh, that they're going to change the temple, only going to be called Haram al Sharif, as if like we were never there. There's a great sort of casual reference to it because we always talk about film here. This really should be a film class disguised as a talk class. So one of the great Israeli films of all time, which really gives a keen history of the Jewish people, and I'm saying that completely facetiously, is Nobody Beats the Zohan. You remember that movie with Adam Sandler, The Zohan? Okay. And they're fighting with him, and he's like beating up these, like he's this like, counter-terrorist operative for the Israeli army, and he's hysterical. But the premise of the story is that while he's like the best at his job of like getting rid of all the terrorists, in reality, he just wants to become a hairstylist. It is hysterical. It's very, very funny. There are a lot of funny, typical Adam Sandler lines in the usual Adam Sandler cast. But when he's fighting with one of the terrorists, if he's like, you guys stealing our land. He's like, yeah, no, my people were never here. 1,000 years ago, we were never ever here, like this, like that. So it's just a funny, like, even in the Hollywood writers, they kind of like get that, yeah. So, but people want to say that. Oh, now they want to say that Jesus was Palestinian. You know who's Palestinian? If you have a relative like your family, were they born right? Because he was born before 1948 in Israel, you're a Palestinian. That's because there was no Israel yet. It wasn't called Israel. So, but the idea of this Palestinian history and this, so it's a big uphill battle to fight because the rest, also when you're dealing with people who have a lot of loud voices and a lot of ignorance, it's a very bad combination. So, like you could just, this is like so low on the list. When you ask people from the river to the sea, can you just name the river and the sea, please? Can you just do that at least? Then, anyway, no one beats the Zohan. Now, unfortunately to me, like no one beats the Zoran now. But let's hope that's going to be, yeah. Oh yeah, I hope we're all wrong. Let me just tell you. And what's his name just decided today. They stood up and said, no, I'm not dropping out, even though it's the best thing for New York. But nah, he's not. He's not. We're having a guest speaker on not this Shabbos. I'm not here this Shabbos. Next Shabbos, we're doing with APAC Shabbos, but they're doing a talk on Friday night called the Mamdani Effect.
Here?
Yeah. The
Will
mom.
that be after the election, right?
No, it's the week before, right before.
What's the date, Rabbi?
It's the 1st, 31st or 1st.
Okay.
It's the night of Halloween. We're having a Friday night costume party. We're not. That would be funny though. Actually, it would not be funny. That would just be like that's the kind of stuff that makes the news. Yeah. So it's right for the election, and there was obviously talking about the importance of because they get asked the question. People ask, "Well, like, what's APEC? What are you doing now? What are you doing now?" Is well, you're all whining about Mamdani, this and that. This is why we do what we do because you identify these candidates long before they even hit the news cycles. You have to identify them and see them, and you have to either get them in office or get them out of office, and that's why the work is so important. So this is all the first pasuk. Okay, now let's get into our friend Shimshon. So if you know anybody who's named Samson, and if you like the name Samson, well, let's put it this way: when I say the name Shimshon, let's play word association. What comes if I say Shimshon? What do you say?
Strong.
Power.
Strength, power, exactly. What?
Voila.
See? Right. That's because that's because we have these sort of, I'm not going to say fairy tale, but we know the good stories of this brave Samson, and we're going to see how strong he is. That like he's tying all the foxes together and the tails of I don't know. But what we don't often focus on is how he got here. Who was he and what's going on? So look at these psukim. So again, I'm going to read through the psukim. We're going to translate them. Eileen, I said this before you came on, but just take like a mental note or a physical note of like any specific words that jump out or an association or a question or an anomaly or something that like doesn't sit right with you. And then we'll go after it. I don't know if we'll get through it all today, but well, God willing, I have to keep everybody, I'm starving to come back next week. Vayhi ach ish echad mitzara mishpachat hadani ushmo Manoach v'ishto karava le'yolada. There was a man of Zorah, and he was from Dan. His name was Noach, and his wife was barren, and she could not have children. She had not yet had children. Vayera malach Hashem el ha'isha vayomer elehi ne'na'at akara velo yolad v'harit v'yoladet bein. So an angel of God appears to the woman and says to her, "Behold, you are barren, you have not given birth, but you will conceive and give birth to a son. And may he be a masculine child." You know where that's from?
Nope, I'm not into more.
You didn't watch as much TV.
Hazara.
I did.
This is Elian. We'll get this in a second because I like after so many years, and she's like, okay, fine, I want. In the very, very beginning of The Godfather, when they're sitting at the wedding and Michael is sitting with Kay, and she's like, "Who's that scary looking man over there?" She's like, "Oh, that's Luca Brasi," and he's like practicing his speech. Don Corleone, I'm so honored that you invited me to your daughter's wedding on the day of your daughter's wedding, and may that child be a masculine child. He says like this, like it's such a great scene, and that's what he says. Either your brains or your signature are going to be on the paper. How Michael's describing to Kay like what he does for his father. He goes, made an offer he can't refuse. Anyway, I have like a whole month of this. I had to get out of my system. I can't, we've been idle. So he's giving her wonderful prenatal advice. You're going to have a baby, but from now, be careful. You're not even pregnant yet, but for now, be careful. Don't drink any wine or aged wine, right? Don't smoke, no edibles, nothing. And don't eat anything contaminated. Now there's all sorts of things. You can't have sushi when you're pregnant
Or Tylenol.
because of the mercury.
I had to. Sorry.
Moshe asked Sarah a couple weeks ago, like, "Mom, did you take Tylenol when you were pregnant?" It's amazing what goes in. He could quote you verbatim every political ad for the gubernatorial race right now on both sides. Because like when you watch it, it's all there. He could
Over and over.
Yeah. I say he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't. Yeah. So he says, Mom, because he had an issue when he was young. He didn't speak. I don't know if you can imagine this. Moshe did not speak till he was about 4. He would just scream. So we had him in all kinds of therapy, and then for a while he wouldn't eat. We had to go to a feeding therapist. We had to check it was somebody's job before we went to sleep to like scoop out his mouth. He was like a squirrel to make sure that he didn't keep food in there because chas v'shalom you could choke. So we used to go to this feeding therapist, and he used to just basically sweet talk her or charm her into giving him lollipops. And I'm like, okay, and here's your like thousands of dollars so that you could just give my kids. I could give him a lollipop at home, whatever. He got some EI, this and that. So we always make fun of him that he like went on the little yellow bus by himself, like. But then all of a sudden he decided he wanted to speak, and he speaks beautifully, and he doesn't shut up. But he says like, Mom, did that happen to me because you took Tylenol?
He's so smart. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's tell me that when I'm in the principal's office. So you can't eat anything contaminated. Why? Ki hinach harav yoladet bein umorav lo yala al rosho ki nazir lehim yehi hanar min habatet v'hu yachel l'shes Yisrael miyad plishtim. Because you're going to conceive, you're going to have a son. You can never cut his hair. Why? Because he's going to be a nazir, already to God from the moment he's born, and then he'll begin to save Israel from the hand of the plishtim. Wow. But Tavohi, so if this happens to you, if a strange man comes and tells you this, and he knows things about you. Now, there is this some people are into it. There's this notion of clairvoyance, and there are some people, particularly in certain Sephardic circles and Sephardic families, who have this clairvoyance, and a lot of people flock to it. I don't know how you feel about it. I could tell you very strongly how I feel about it because I'm such a Litvak. I've seen it. I'm going to tell you a story, and it's quite it's just jarring, very jarring for me, this story. But I always feel like I have to repeat it. So when I was a young rabbi, last week, there was a family. We had a bad year one year. There were three young people in there, two in their early 40s and one in his mid 30s, who passed away in the same year, like terrible illness, cancer. So there was this woman, and she had three children, and she had terrible, terrible cancer. And like it was, just not good, not good. And this is a woman who was like full of life. She's like a really big social person and and then like, she disappeared. And then somebody said, listen, I want to take you to one of these, I'm not going to say who, but I want to take you to one of these rabbis from Israel's here in the city. And he could, da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'm going with you. I gotta see what this is about. I'm going. And I went with them. Now, in order to get in, first of all, it doesn't matter where it was. It was Manhattan. And we go in. And the guy's not particularly observant. Traditional guy, not particularly, no, not this family that I took. I went with the husband and the wife. He was a well-known orthopedist. And so he's like, whatever. At this point, like, I'll try anything. I get that. I get the desperation and the willingness to grasp it, whatever. So then he learned that, okay, if you really want to get in, you gotta like smear the guy at the door. It's like some exclusive club. So first you gotta like peel off the few hundred so you can get like past the gatekeeper, the gabbai, and then, so he gets it. We go in, and the rabbi's sitting at the table, and they're sitting. I'm this far away from the rabbi right now as I am from you. And then all of a sudden he starts saying things about them that nobody else could know. That's the hook. You were thinking of moving. There's a certain room in your house that needs a mezuzah. It's over here, and he starts. Now, obviously, there is something to it. There's no question. I wouldn't know that. How would anybody know that? And they're like, so like, they're in. And he's like, that's great, but is my wife going to be okay? Is she going to be okay? And he said to her, as sitting with her, he says, she will walk your children down to the chuppah. They like lit up. I remember we were on our way home from the city, and they're like, we have to go out for dinner. Now, mind you, this woman had been so sick, and she didn't go anywhere. Also because of her appearance, and she was like this beautiful, beautiful mom, and 42 years old, and she like didn't go anywhere. And then I called my wife. I'm like, we're going out for dinner. We're going to Sushi Mitsuyan in Central Avenue, in Five Towns. My wife was very, very pregnant because my wife was pregnant for about a decade, and my wife is pregnant. She gets really, really sick, like super, super ill. Not in a good way. And she's like, I can't. I'm like, trust me, they want to go. let's go. So she like picked herself up and she went and we had a beautiful, beautiful dinner. And like for the first time in months and months and months, this woman was alive. And so like she was dead like 3 months later. So on the one hand, you could argue, I'll play devil's advocate. You could argue, like, you gave her like some hope, even for a short time. Is that worth something? Is there a price for something? On the other hand, the husband said to me, he was like, didn't hold it against me because I'm not the one who sent him there, but like I remember giving him we gave her a sefer Tehillim that she should say, because that I do believe in, and he gave it back to me. He's like, take your religious books and take your whatever, and I don't believe in any of this. You could fill in the blanks. Um, the sad the it was very, very sad to me, um, that because of that, now he had such a terrible taste against religion. There are some more sort of happy-ish endings to the story. Is that then 10 years later, so then and their son's bar mitzvah. They were making the oldest, their three children, a son, a daughter, and then a son. The son's bar mitzvah was a few months later. So look, we've all been to those. Those are horrible, excruciating, terrible. But we made it. It was a nice simcha. It was great. Um, and 10 years later, I'm here already. 10 years later, the son called me and he said, I'm getting married. I would like for you to do my wedding. I would like you to do my wedding. And I did. I did. And his father was there and he made a beautiful tribute to his mom under the chuppah. It was really, 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 really something. Then the story gets sad again because the dad, he got pancreatic cancer and he was about to go for some experimental treatment in Houston. He was starting to improve, and then COVID hit, and he got COVID and he died. So I did his funeral. It was one of those weird, like those periods of COVID, which I try not to recall too often, but from March till June, I was driving around with a shovel in my car. When you went to the cemetery, all they let you have was a funeral director, one family member, and a rabbi, and everybody else was on Zoom or whatever. I remember going to it was in out in Long Island. I was like over there, Wellwood, and it was a regular Sunday, and there was actually like traffic jam of hearses. And I asked the director, I'm like, how many you got today? On a normal Sunday, there's like five, six. He's like, we have like 38 today, whatever the obscene number is. I remember just seeing all you saw in the cemetery then were fresh graves. Fresh graves, freshly dug graves. They would come, the cemetery workers all in the Shmona Begadim, they would come, they would put the coffin in, they would run away, and then we would do our thing. And then, so we got over that. The middle child, the daughter, who followed in her father's footsteps, became, she's now a very, very successful PA, and she wore her dad's like lab coat, and when she got married, she asked me to do the wedding. And it was beautiful, but it was like so sad to me that this beautiful girl, she had a baby, and she named the baby after both her mom and dad. Um, like to walk down to a chuppah, have no parents there. It was really, really, it was so heartbreaking. But like, you know, this is one of the things that like when people ask me like, what do you do? Like, oh, the speeches. Like speeches is the easiest part of what I do, honestly. It really, really is. It's like navigating these types of things. And then of course there's like the new family, and then there was like a stepmom, and then you're like, oh, because he got remarried, and then it was like anyway, but the when somebody comes to me and says, how could a rabbi say that to me? What are you supposed to? I don't know, because it works for some people. Now again, if that's your thing, call gesundheit. If you're into that, I never was, but I had to see it for myself, and then this only unfortunately concretized for me why I am the way I am. But at the same time, it also solidified a relationship that I have with this family, which I have until this day. With the kids, like the daughter comes with her husband and her son. They come for Shabbos. Like it's that's what we do. You're in the relationship business, so hopefully. So, the woman who gets approached by some guy. Now we're told that he's a Malach Hashem, but he didn't introduce. Oh, hi, here's my card. I'm an angel of God. Okay? Because I could tell you that every time you walk down any street in Manhattan, you'll be approached by this. Someone who says they're a malach of God. Any prophet in the Bible would show up in New York City today, they would throw him, lock him up somewhere and say like, well, actually they wouldn't. They would just say, go live on the streets like everybody else. There was a stat today about the record number of homeless people living in Manhattan right now, which is just sad. Some people like the city. I don't like the city. I'm a suburban guy. I grew up in the suburbs. You walk in the street in Manhattan, you're high before you like even get out of the car just because of the avira. And there's a lot of like nutty people around and whatever. And I'm sure it's only going to get better. Anyway, but let's talk about our feelings. So the natural reaction is then she says, well, I got to go talk to my husband about this. Vatavo ha'isha vatomer le'isha. That's where the grammar comes into Prague. The dagesh in the hey, le'isha means ha'ish shala, right? So the woman goes and she tells her husband, she says, Ishu alakim ba'ilai, umare kamar malach alakim nor ma'od, v'lo shiltir imizehu v'eshmo lo hagidli. She says, well, she's putting two and two together. I don't know. She has some sort of sense. Women always do. Like there's something special about this person. And she's like, a man of God came to me and he looked like an angel. Now, what does an angel look like? I don't know. And he was an Nora Ma'od. Oh, Manoira. It's like, wow, he was wondrous. He was really like, here they use the word awesome, but we can't use the word awesome anymore because it's just been completely abused. So he was full of Nora. There was something to him. We felt this incredible presence, and I didn't ask him where he was from, and he didn't tell me his name, because she's anticipating what the husband's gonna say. What was his name? Where was he from? What happened? It's usually the other way around. It's like when we ask the men what happened, they're like, I don't know. How's your day? Good. Anything happen? No. Why don't you tell me this? I don't know. Where like I could give like this is all the information I know. That still somehow means that I'm hiding something. Like, yeah, but what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't ask. Okay, but we get it. That's part of the dynamic. Vayomer li hinach harav yolat bein v'ata al tishte yain v'sheichar v'al tochli kol tuma ki nazir lakim yiyeh hanari benetan al yamaso. And this is what he said. You're going to conceive, you're going to give birth to a son, and now don't drink wine, aged wine, don't eat anything that's tameh, because this child is going to be a nazir from the time that he's born until the day that he dies. So, if you're the husband, what's the normal reaction to this?
Disbelief.
Right, disbelief. Okay. Maybe I'd like a qualifier. Good, that's fair enough. You'd like to let's see what's going on here. Check it out. Vayetar Manoch el Hashem vayomar bi Adonai ishu Elohim asher shalachta yavona od eleinu v'yorenu mana aselena hayulad. So he prays to Hashem. He's like, please Hashem, may the man of God whom he sent come now again to us and teach us what we should do with the lad who's to be born. In other words, I don't really believe her. Could you send me some proof? I'll tell you, if he's still in town, could he just like, could we get a well check? Could we get a revisit, follow up? Is that so much to ask God? And he's like speaking to God. Okay. But listen to this. God hears his voice. He again approaches the woman in the field. She's alone. He's not there. So she's like, don't go. Stay right here. Like, don't move. She's like, he's here. She hurries. She runs. She tells. She says. He appears. The one. So he gets up and he goes, follows his wife. He comes to this man and he says to him, are you the one that spoke to my wife? I mean, you could read what you want into this relationship right now, because she said this is the guy, and he has to like, okay, I don't really take your word for it or not. Again, I'm just already giving you like hints. There's like some of the things that you should like scratching your head about here. But particularly, we may not even get to it, but because I keep telling stories, but pay attention to the words that are used here and the phrases and just the context of what's happening. And especially now that we're in the book of Bereshit, like let it all, like in the story time, let it all like think like, well, this It makes me think of this story. It makes me think of that story. That's super, super important here. Okay. Vayomer Manoach ata yavo dvarecha ma yeh mishpat hanar maseo. Okay, now that you say that you are who you are, I'll believe you. Now, may your words come true, but what's going to be this, like, what's the story with the kid? Like, how's he supposed to carry himself? Vayomer malach Hashem el Manoach mikol asher amarti el ha'isha tishamer. Yeah, what I told her. Exactly what I said to her. And here it is. Mikol asher yitzei migefan hayayin lo sochal, v'yayin v'sheichar al tesht, v'chol tuma al tochel, kol asher tzivisia tishmor. Anything that comes from the grapevine you can't eat, wine or aged wine you shouldn't drink, anything contaminated she shouldn't eat, everything that I commanded her, she shall observe. V'yomer Manoach malach Hashem natzrona osach v'nasel v'necha ki di'izim. So the normal reaction to this is when somebody tells you this great news is, let's eat. I mean, like I want to give proper thanks. Somebody gives you great news, great tidings, right? How did you, like we all sat with bated breath, not willing to believe that these 20 living hostages would come home. And when they finally did, like I didn't know how, like, but everybody, I can't put it into words, but you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So we did in shul before Yisker, and it was not your typical Yisker speech, pre-Yisker speech, because of what was going on. So I went over some of the halach, and I said, you know what? We all stood up as one, and we all said Shechianu together, with Shem Malchus like that, the entire shul together. I'm like, you know what? Like, and if ever anybody felt the Shechianu, that was the one they felt. It was really, really something. Okay, so he's like, I gotta do. Like, can I get you a ride home? Can I give you a tip? Something like whatever. But let's eat. Vayomer malach Hashem el Manoach im ta'atzreini lo ocha b'lachmecha ve'im ta'aseh lo la'Hashem ta'alena ki lo yada Manoach ki malach Hashem hu. He says, if you detain me, I won't eat of your food. If you want to prepare an ola, an elevation offering, offer it to Hashem, because Manoach didn't know that he's an angel of God. Now that's also telling because
I've told him.
yeah, but so asks again. Put that in your questions. What does that mean to be an angel of God? So we know, because we're reading it and we have the subtext and all that, we know that angels don't eat. He doesn't know that. He thinks he's a guy. So does angel mean angel? Malach also means messenger. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim, as we see. All these things. Vayomer Manoach malach Hashem mishemecha ki yavo devarecha v'chibadnucha. So then he asks him, okay, so what's your name? So that when your word comes about, we can honor you. When it comes about, or you might read it as if it comes about, ki can mean a lot of things. It can mean when, it could be if, should, that, you know, I gotta I want to name a kid after you. That kind of thing. Which is a common, by the way, when people do miracles for you, it's a common response to honor, like, oh, I'll name my first child after you. Eli Beer always tells us this great story of there was a Haredi couple that went into labor on the road, and they called United Hatzalah, and the tech came and delivered the baby, but he never had a chance to take his helmet off. Delivered the baby, like, we're gonna name our son after you. You saved my life. It was so dangerous. He's like, I don't think so. He's like, why not? He takes off his, like, my name is Ibrahim. He's like, he was a Muslim guy. He's like, yeah, I don't think you want him. Right? Right. And he says, the angel answers him, Vayom l'malach Hashem, lama zeh tishal shmei v'hu Peli. Why are you asking my name? Peli, so Pele means a wonder, here means hidden. He's not the famous soccer player, Pele. That's someone else. It's a different part of Tanakh. But my name is Peli. Okay? It's hidden. V'kach Manoach haskedi ha'izim v'samincha v'yal al atzor la'Hashem u'mafli la'asos ha'manoach v'ishto ro'im. So then Manoach takes the goat and the meal offering. He puts them on the rock to Hashem, and then all of a sudden the angel performs a miracle, and Manoach and his wife are watching. Vahi ba'alos halahav me'al ha'mizbeach ha'shamayma vayal malach Hashem b'lahav ha'mizbeach u'manoach v'ishto ro'im v'polav b'nei ha'aretza. So the flame goes up from this makeshift altar they just made to bring the offering. The angel goes into the flame. And all of a sudden, Manoach and his wife are watching, and they fall on their faces to the ground. Like, okay, if you didn't think he was an angel, I think now you know he's an angel. And that's why he wasn't eating, because he had to go back home through the spaceship portal or whatever, beam me up, Scotty, type of thing, right? Okay, so and then the pasuk says something somewhat redundant, perhaps or not. Vayomer Manoach, I'm sorry.
No,
Velo yasaf od malach Hashem leheira'o el Manoach el ishto az yada Manoach malach Hashem hu. And then the angel no longer appears to Manoach and his wife. Then Manoach realizes, that he's an angel of God. Men are a little slow to get things. They say that they make fun of British people. You could plug in whatever you want. They say that when you tell a joke to a British person, they laugh 3 times, right? Once when they hear it, once when you explain it, and once when they get it. Like people, what you do what you want with that. I'm saying, but men are oh. Now it's like, but the pasuk is very emphatic about it. Like, now he knows that he's an angel. We figured it out already. I mean, obviously we're told, but maybe we didn't even have to get to this point. And then what's the reaction when you see a person of God? Vayomer Manoach el ishto mos namus ki elokim ra'inu. He's like, wait a minute. Now we're going to die because we just saw God. Angel of God, emissary of God, malach, whatever it is, but we just saw God, and we all know, because I went to Sunday school and I went to Hebrew school, that you can't look. Like, we're always told, like, every yontif without fail, like one kid or one adult says, why can't I look at the Kohanim? I'm like, because you're gonna go blind, and you're gonna, there's a whole thing about that, why we don't look at the Kohanim. But you can't look. It's even in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
sure.
There's obviously, he says, Marion, close your eyes, whatever happens, don't look. And that's when the guy, he's dressed like the Kohen Gadol, and he has it pretty accurate, and he starts saying, the French guy, Beloche, Belloc, he kept calling it in the movie, Beloche. And if you listen to the words carefully in the movie, the graphics are terrible because it was so old, but it was great, a great film. And he's really saying, and he's saying the words accurately. When we take, in Aramaic, when we take out the Torah, that's what we say. And he says, don't look, because you look at God, you look at an eminence of God, you're a goner. Forget it. Okay? So it's interesting that the man is the one who's panicking here, and the woman calms him down. Lu. Maybe his middle name was Lu. She says, look, Lu chafetz Hashem la'misenu l'lekach me'edin olam minchav l'heran es kol eila ka'is leishmena kazos. If Hashem wanted to kill us, first of all, he would have killed us, but he wouldn't have accepted this offering and the meal offering. He wouldn't have shown us these miracles. He wouldn't let us hear such good news. I'm pretty sure this was meant for us, so I think we're good. Okay? Now, not to be stereotypical, but to be stereotypical, it's not usually the man who's hysterical in this and in some sort of out of normal body event. It's like we have to fix things. It's fine. She's the one that's like, it's fine. She's the one that talks sense into him. Okay? That's that. Shimshon. So she gives birth to a son. It's always a son. She called his name Shimshon, and he grew. Hashem blessed him. The spirit of Hashem began to resound with him in the camp of Dan. This gives you the location when you start in Eshtaol. You could see when you go in Israel, you see Eshtaol. But and that's the Haftorah for Naso. So first of all, why is this the Haftorah for Naso? Haftorah usually has something to do with something in the parsha. So if I had to ask you, what is this a story about?
It's Abraham and Sarah.
Okay.
In the
No, I mean before that, but what is this? What is the particularly to the question I'm just asking, why would it be the Haftorah of Parshas Naso? What is one of the major themes of the story? Right, because you think that you could read it for an Abraham and Sarah, but it's not. Naso is in Bamidbar. You could read. If you gave me this as the Haftorah for Abraham and Sarah can't have children, Yitzchak and Rivka can't have children, Yaakov and Rachel can't have children, I get it. But there's something more to it. There's another element here, and that's the element of being a Nazir. Right? So what is a Nazir?
Someone who's dedicated to God.
No wine.
There are 3 things a Nazir can't do.
Okay.
Right? And the third thing?
Can't be
Not
married.
mentioned here,
Can't
but
be married.
no, can be. can't be near a dead body.
Like a Kohen.
Right, right. But even for like a relative. So Nazir. Now, so that's the laws of the Nazir are found in Parshas Naso. And there are different types of Nazirite vows, which is something we have to examine. Well, we can't get into that today because it's very, very involved. We'll get into it next time. But generally speaking, a Nazirite vow is 30 days. This is unusual because the Nazirite vow was placed upon him even before he was born. So that's why this is the Haftorah for Parshas Naso. I just wanted to answer that question. So now we have this story, and you know what? I'm gonna give you homework instead. I'm gonna give you homework. This is what you should do. Read through it again. Ask yourselves, to what story does this remind you of? Or plural stories. Like, where have I heard something like this? How is it similar? How is it different? What's missing or what's bothersome about the story? What's something that should have happened, or what happened that shouldn't have happened? What's really going on here? And what, like, overall, like, feel free to email it to me or just jot it down, bring it for next week. But think about, like, this is one of those, I literally could spend probably 5 shiurim just teaching this chapter. I'm not going to do that because then really Chevra will never come back. She hates me.
She always says, she's like, hope Rabbi Klubinoff knows that I want to come to class. I'm like, then come.
I'm saying it for the whole world to see on video because this is going to hit YouTube and it's going to go completely viral. Chedva hates me. Vivian, I think it's the Vivian thing. Maybe I should stop calling her Vivian, but she absolutely hates me.
No chance.
She just doesn't like Navi, I think. But I mean, I try not to take it personally, but at a certain point, I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's me. It's me. But you have to really look at the words of the text, focus specifically on the verbs, and look also at sort of compare. Also put this just to make it a little easier. Compare the version that she gets versus the version that he gets. See if they're the same or not, and compare him and her in general in this story. You'll come up with some interesting anomalies, all of which is going to fit into this beautiful theme, I think, of understanding why is this here now, because this is very different than any of the stories we've read in Sefer Shoftim up until now, heretofore. Because usually it's like, they're in trouble, okay, God picks a guy. Now we had a couple, this guy was good, he was good with the grapes and then with the threshing, and everything. But this is a very deep, and then nothing even happened yet. But this is just like his beginnings. We don't have this for Avram Avinu. And it's coming up at the end of this week's parsha. The whole story of Avram. The Ramban writes about this in detail. You know the story. How did Avram become Avraham? Everybody knows the story, right?
Yes.
Was grieving people.
No, that's already after he's Avraham. But how does God decide to pick Avraham and say Lech Lecha, follow me?
Monotheism. He believed.
How did he believe in monotheism? What led him to believe in monotheism? You know the story. His father had a store. Terach was his father. His father had a store. Idols are us. Idols.com, idols.org. He had the whole thing. And, you know, then he's like trying to tell people, convince them otherwise, like, yeah, no, that's not, that really can't help you. And then he smashes all the idols. And then his father comes like, what happened? He's like, well, this idol was fighting with that one. And they fight and he destroyed all these. Like, father's like, you know, that's ridiculous. He's like, taste the soup. You know what taste of soup is from? Thank you. Oh, you have redeemed yourself, and thank you. Yes. End of Coming to America, the last scene in Coming to America in the credit, right before the credits roll. Eddie Murphy and
once, but you've spoken about it.
thank you. Arsenio Hall in the end at playing these old guys in the barbershop. He's like, the waiter brings the soup and he's like, wait, I want you to taste the soup. He's like, I don't want to taste the soup. Taste the soup. Taste the soup. There's no spoon. He's like this. So he says this, see? And then they want to try him and they want to burn him in the fiery furnace, the whole thing. Okay, now, where in the Chumash is that story?
No.
It's not.
It's Medrash.
It's Medrash, it's Gemara. Why isn't it there? The Ramban deals with it. But I'm saying even Avraham doesn't get such an introduction before he's born. This kid's not even born yet, and he's like destined for greatness. We don't get that anywhere else. So think about that. Think about the wife's reaction. Think about the husband's reaction. Write it down. and we're going to bring it all together, and we're going to put this, and this will lay the foundation for the next chapter, and really the next chapter of the book, but also the next chapter of the history of the Jewish people. So that's really, really exciting stuff. And this is like fun. It's like a fun chapter. This is the kind of like they would teach in school because like from a literary point of view, and it's not just names. Yeah, names, dates. Oh, we get the Pelegish Begiva and all that. Forget it. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.